Hi, I'm Terry Kelly with the Henderson County Cooperative Extension. Wanted to talk today just a minute about planting potatoes. Now, most of our garden crops we grow from seed, or they're started from seed and we put a transplant into the ground. Potatoes are what we call vegetatively propagated. In other words, we don't really plant a seed. We plant a potato. We plant part of the plant. A potato is actually a tuber, and it's part of the plant that grows underground. And to successfully grow good potatoes, what we start with is a piece of that potato. Now, what's the difference between these potatoes right here and the ones you buy at the store? Well, these are what we call certified seed potatoes. You can usually get them at your local garden center, and they have been certified to be disease-free. But the key thing is that when you buy potatoes at the store, they've been treated with something to keep the sprouts from sprouting. It's called a sprout inhibitor. And so they're not likely to sprout and grow a new potato. Or even though you have seen potatoes from the store sprout, it reduces the sprouting quite a bit. These certified seed potatoes have not been treated with a sprout inhibitor, so it makes it a lot easier for them to sprout. So the first thing we have to do is to cut these potatoes into pieces. And you see here I've cut some of these potatoes into pieces. And you want the piece to be big enough that it's going to support the growth of the sprout as it starts to sprout. So what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for what we call the eyes of the potato. Now you see here, that's an eye right there. It actually has a little smaller one next to it. We roll it around, we can see another one. We roll it around, we see some more over here. Well, that's where those sprouts are going to initiate, from these eyes. So we see this potato here. It's not a really big potato, so we'll probably cut it into no more than, say, 3 pieces. So we'll cut it here, and you see we have an eye there. And then let's say we'll cut it like this, and we have eyes there, and we also have an eye there. So you want to have 1 or 2 eyes on every piece that you cut. We can take this one, we can cut it here where we have an eye, and then we can probably get a couple more out of this one. We'll just cut it right down through here. We've got eyes here on this side, and we have some small ones over here on this side. So the first thing we do is we cut our potatoes into the pieces that we're going to use. Now, it actually helps a lot if you let these wounds that you created when you cut the potato kind of heal over. It also helps if you apply a fungicide to these. There's a fungicide called Mancozeb or Manzate that you'll find at your local garden center, and you can mix that up in a little spray tank like this one right here, or you can even mix it into a spray bottle like this right here. And what you want to do then is treat these, just wet them good with the fungicide. Best to wear gloves. I'm just using water right here. So and then you'll flip them over so that you can treat the other side as well. So then we flip them over, we spray the other side so that we get good coating with that fungicide. Now, mix the fungicide according to the label directions so that you have the proper mixture. Then you want to lay these out onto some newspaper, some dry newspaper. You just spread them out, just so they're not touching. They can be closer together than I'm putting them here, but kind of turn that cut side up a little bit so that it gets air in order to heal. Flip that one up on its side there. And you want to put these in single layers and put them in a place that's about 60 to 70 degrees. And then if you put another layer, you can put some more newspaper on top and put some more potatoes on top of that. So for instance, say we cut this one here and we treat it. We want to make another row. We spray it with our fungicide. Again, you would be wearing gloves if this was actual fungicide. And then you make another layer on top of that one. Oops, let's turn them where that cuts, where it will heal. So, potatoes are one of the most widely eaten crops that we grow in our garden. The average person eats about 125 pounds of potatoes a year. So it makes sense to make it a crop, a staple crop for your garden. They're also high in things like vitamin C and potassium. So it's great to have potatoes. Now, yeah, it may be easier to go to the store and buy them, but just like anything else you grow in the garden, there's a lot more satisfaction, a lot more fun in growing them in the garden. So once these are healed over, it only takes maybe 2 or 3 days, you're ready to plant them. You go out in the garden, you generally plant rows that are about 36 inches apart, and then you dig a trench and plant these about 3 to 3 inches deep or so, and cover them up good. What you want to do is place it with the cut side down, so that sprout is sticking up when we'll get the most light. So you put them in the row about 6 to 8 inches apart, just like that, and then about 3 feet over from that you would have another row. Cover them with about 3 to 4 inches of soil, and then they'll start to sprout. This one's already got a little tiny sprout coming off of it. But for the average person to planting a garden, it takes about 18 pounds of seed potatoes for every 100 feet a row if you're spacing them at 6 inches apart. You can actually put them a little further apart. You could put them up to, say, 8 inches apart, and it would take a few less. This, for instance, minus what I've taken out, was 15 pounds of seed potatoes. So you can see it takes a bag about that big to plant 100 linear feet a row. Again, put your rows about 3 feet apart. And then as these come up, you may want to rake some dirt, soil to the plants as they come up, and as we call, heal them up a little bit, so that you've got you build up kind of a mound as these plants start to grow up. One of the things about planting these certified seed potatoes is that they are more disease-free. They're true to variety. There's several different varieties we grow in the garden, like Kennebec or Red Pontiac, or even Yukon Gold, which is a newer variety that we can use in the garden. But it's a little different process than planting seeds or transplants. Once you let that heal over, it's less likely to decay in the soil. It's not too late to put out your potato crop. As you know, right now our soil temperatures are probably in the mid-50s. As long as our soil temperatures are below 70 degrees, we can still plant potatoes. In the mountains here, we can grow potatoes pretty much throughout the season because we have warm days and cool nights, and so we can be pretty successful with that. So as long as you can get seed potatoes, you can plant potatoes right now still. Even if you can't get seed potatoes, you can use potatoes from the store. I would recommend using organically grown ones because they've not been treated with a sprout inhibitor, but I would definitely recommend treating with a fungicide because they're not certified disease-free. So you have to be careful when you're using potatoes that were grown for eating versus those that were grown for seed. So hopefully this will help you get your potatoes off and growing, and at the end of the year you'll have a good harvest of potatoes and enough to feed your family for a while. Storing them in a cool, dry place helps to prolong the life of the potatoes, and kind of a dark place to keep them from sprouting. So this is Terry Kelly with the Henderson County Cooperative Extension. I hope you've enjoyed this little presentation, and I hope it's helpful to you. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.